Ayanna Pressley is one of my favorite Congress members, period. And today we have a brutal takedown of hers on a Project 2025 co-author, of whom Republicans called to Congress to defend Project 2025 because, of course Trump has nothing to do with it. He just has all the authors in his campaign, and Republicans are calling them to Congress to speak on their ideas and defend them largely. So let's look at a few of these clips and break down these disgusting policies.
Project 2025 manifesto is about the Department of Labor. And you are the author of that chapter, correct?
Lead author, yes. There's others too.
Yes, you are. I believe the American public should know exactly how you and the Republican majority that invited you to testify today want to sabotage the EEOC, rewrite the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and push all of us back to an era of Jim Crow racism. I'm shocked that my colleague across the aisle was in disbelief at our characterizations and assertions of racism and discrimination when even former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said the Republican side of the aisle looked like the most restrictive country club in America. We all know that Make America Great Again is about making America white only again.
This is absolutely brutal. And yes, even Republicans like McCarthy of all people, have came out to speak on the racism that exists on the right, the appearance of a country club. That's a hilarious comparison. And now backing things that are in Project 2025 that are to do nothing but to put back into place the barriers of equality that people of color have faced for decades in this country, because the white men are scared to have the advantages they've become comfortable having and long held minimized to none, and be put in a place where everyone, despite their race or sex, has the equal opportunity to be represented in our institutions. Trying to roll back affirmative action, DEI, things written in the Civil Rights Act, like data collection of race that allows wages to be evened out, agencies that go after discrimination. We spoke in a video a few days ago about how DEI, for instance, all of these do, but like specifically to take DEI, the one that's under the most fire nowadays, shoots to underrepresent the population of people of color still. And that's still too much for MAGA. DEI aims for 30% representation for people of color among institutions, even though the population makes up 40% of America, while white people see over 70% representation, while only making up 59% of the population. And the latter is perfectly fine to MAGA, but the other is anti-white racism, because for them, it's quite literally not about equality. They don't want equality. Equality is unfair to them. It's about doing everything they can to hold on to the power that they've become so used to having.
My Republican colleagues very often like to quote Dr. King, I don't know, maybe for some faux civil rights credibility or to pervert his words to suit your extremist needs, while working actively to undermine his legislative legacy. On the first page of Chapter 18, Project 2025 complains about how the Biden administration has been fighting for racial equity. On the next page, it calls for eliminating data collection on race and ethnicity in employment. On the page after that, it calls for rescinding an executive order signed in 1965 that prohibits discrimination in hiring by contract. Last year alone, the agency filed more than 27,000 charges of race-based discrimination. These workers and their families have a pathway to justice, accountability, and healing because of the policies and regulations that Project 2025 is trying to get rid of.
Yeah, it's literally that cut and dry. They want businesses to be able to discriminate based on race. It's in Project 2025, as she mentioned, to overturn these executive actions, which are the only preventative measures to discrimination that we have. They want to also do away with the regulations and agencies that imposes those that allow for discrimination claims to be filed, leaving businesses not only with the means to discriminate, but to do so without any repercussion, whether it be through wages, through hiring, through firing, through any of the ways they can. That is not meritocracy, which is one of the buzzwords Republicans like to throw around when they're trying to disguise their thinly veiled racism. We want it to be about merit. It's never been about merit in this country. You have to be inherently racist or have underlying racist sentiments to believe that whites are overrepresented because of merit. Yeah, I'll let that one resonate with you. And people of color, Black people specifically, are underrepresented because they lack that merit. I wonder what the differences between those two groups of people are. Can't put my finger on it, can I? Can you? Who knows, right? What they've lacked in reality is opportunity. And now that measures are in place to allow them that same opportunity that white people have had, that have garnered them the overrepresentation because they've been the only group with that opportunity, people like Trump and MAGA are fighting every single day to push them back down to where they see people of color belonging.
It guts the ability to both be able to have the rights and have enforcement and protection of the rights that we already have, and we've been seeing improvements and advancements when we have been enforcing them. And I'm also deeply concerned with any suggestion that we should not be collecting data or that labor rights, the rights to organize, which has been so important for workers across race, including white men, to ensure that they're getting fair wages and safe working conditions. All of these are actually in that chapter, and they threaten our workplaces for people who are white, for people of color, for people of all backgrounds in this country. And I think that's why we all need to be concerned, because it really is about all of us.
And this is the best way that she could have put it, because it opens the door for anyone to be discriminated on the basis of anything. For people who care so much about anti-white racism, why would they then open the door that would allow businesses to discriminate based on white people's race? Oh, it's because they know that they're already overrepresented in institutions and businesses as CEOs and owners. So the discrimination will be far outweighed by their opportunity. The opportunity, again, that they've been the only group that has had for decades. However, for people of color, it will not be. It won't even be close. Think of it like this. It's like they're doing a 100-yard dash. And white people have been starting 50 yards in. And now they're claiming that black people are cheating for being moved up to start 40 yards in.